Hey, hello, good evening. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Live Before Lock. Yeah, Niners on the road against the Rams. Would you believe me if I told you 2 3-1 teams battling for sole possession of the NFC West? That would be the case, except one team looks a little bit different than they did a couple weeks ago. I'm Dave Loughran. That's Greg Ehrenberg, and we've got, look, talk shit on this game all you want. This is a fun game. This is what showdowns are made of. If you guys think this is a bad game, take a trip back down memory road, Greg, to 3 years ago, where Russell Wilson signed with the Denver Broncos and the schedule makers thought it would be a good idea to put them on prime time 15 times, right? Or how about 2 years ago when Aaron Rodgers signed with the Jets and they thought, you know what? Jets on prime time every other week. Good idea. Ruptured his Achilles. This is nothing, man. This is child's play compared to what we've had to endure over the past several years.
You're also a little bit used to it as a 76ers fan, somebody who lives in Philly, because this is like a 76ers injury report that the 49ers throwing out here. This is the entire team. This is almost like a load management where you've got the starting quarterback is out, talking about the beginning of the season. You got no starting quarterback. His 3 top pass catchers all out for today, and their best defensive player as well. So this is as shorthanded as I could ever remember a team being at this point in the season.
Yeah. Josh Gillum, I could not disagree more with you, my friend. Worst showdown ever was Patriots not attempting a single pass with Mac Jones. That's not true. He threw twice, I believe. That game was awesome, dude. Do you remember that? Do you remember who it was against?
I remember it was a snow game.
Wind game.
I thought it was snow and wind.
Maybe, but I think it was just, it might have been, but the wind was so bad that during warmups, the kickers were kicking the ball and it would hook backwards like a boomerang.
I just remember, was it Ramondre Stevenson who had a really long touchdown run that broke the entire slate?
And then he pulled his hammy. Yep. Yeah, it was Stevenson, and it was against Josh Allen and the Bills, and the Bills kept trying to throw the football. That was one of the craziest games ever. Here it was. He attempted 3 passes, 2 for 3 for 19 yards, Greg, 5 rushing attempts for -3. Those games are the best. Thank you, Obi-Wan. Weather impacted games are the best. I'll die on that hill. Dude, the snow globe game with Jameis Winston last year, Greg, against the Steelers, that's an instant classic. Instant classic.
Yeah, some of the weather impacted games, here's what's most fun about them, is if you are ahead of the books to the weather news and you just get these crazy kinds of, because think about that game. Imagine that you had a good read on the weather and you were like, you know what I'm doing? I'm betting over rushing attempts for the Patriots running backs, and I'm doing under on all of the Mac Jones passing props. You would have probably come out of that game with like a 30-1 ticket or something that was like a near lock to win.
Absolutely. I did that year. It was before props. It was a Tuesday on a game, and I ended up getting like 8 points of closing line value on the total, and they went and I bet the under, of course, Greg, and they went over the total in the first half. So that didn't work. Anyway, let's get into it. Happy to have you guys with us. If you do not mind, take a single second this wonderful evening, atone for your sins, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way. We appreciate you greatly for it. And I want to tell you this much, Greg. Hear me out. You and everybody here. We look at this game and we say, it's going to be a rout. An absolute disaster for the San Francisco 49ers, a train wreck. And I get that the overwhelming public sentiment is that this game is going to be ugly. But then I saw this tweet. Adam Schefter put the nail in the coffin, my friends. 49ers offensive starters tonight. He didn't say they're going to be bad, but we understand the implication, right? We know what he means. He posted an image of Mac Jones, Christian McCaffrey, Kendrick Bourne, Demarcus Robinson, and Jake Tongas. Greg, do you know what happens anytime someone posts some stuff like this, suggesting, oh my God, it's going to be a disaster?
sometimes it's a disaster and sometimes it isn't, is what ends up happening. On paper, this does look like it should go very, very poorly for the 49ers, but it's worth noting there's so much more randomness and variance in football than most people. The spread for the game is 8.5. Could the game be a blowout? Absolutely. But it's not like the Thunder playing at home against the Wizards at the end of the NBA season where they're minus 2,000 money line favorites and they're favored by 21.5 points. You don't get football games like that. There's not that many plays that end up happening in the entirety of a course of a game. Random things end up happening. So with the spread being 8.5, there just isn't really that often that a team has better than, say, like a 75 to 80% chance to win any given football game. Every team's always live.
All I'm saying is whenever people tweet stuff like this, you're right. Sometimes it goes the other way, but we only remember the times like where we can all come into Adam Schefter's comments tonight and be like, oh, what did you mean by that? After the Niners are up by 15. I'm not suggesting that's going to happen. What I am saying is that I'm plan on playing this game from a showdown standpoint, Greg, because this is a showdown DFS show. I do plan on playing this with many different outs. Like I'm not just straight 5-1 stacking the Rams in every lineup. If you wanted to do that, might actually be smart. You just go heavy-handed Rams onslaughts. But I think there's some spots that I'm going to look to. And one of them might be Rams onslaught where I fade McCaffrey. Anybody, there's no one out there that wants to play a Rams onslaught and fade Christian McCaffrey. But what happens if the game does get out of hand? Do they just put him on the bench and put Brian Robinson Jr. in there? A lot of different ways this game could go, even though it seems like there's only one direction. There's never just one direction a game can play out, no matter what you think is going to happen.
Yep. I definitely agree with that. It's not as it's very rare that I'm shocked if a team ends up winning a game.
Yes, exactly.
Today would not be any different. I wouldn't pick the 49ers to win outright as the most likely outcome, but what's the money line for this game? We've got an 8.5 point spread, and the Rams are minus 439. The 49ers are plus 362. So something like 1 out of 5 times or something like that, you are going to see the 49ers win this game outright based on what the betting is.
Yeah. So stranger things have happened. We all know that. So we'll talk about it. Glad you guys could join us. And Jeremy, Rams against the running backs have been good. I mean, Barkley rushed for like 43 yards on 20 carries against them, but the volume is big. He has a 7.5 receptions prop, which is just outrageous. Mid-50s receiving yards prop. Crazy. I actually took the under on his receptions prop today. I just couldn't, on principle, take over 7.5 receptions. But let's dive into it. I've already done a showdown show today. This is your first. Let's pop your cherry, Greg. Where do you want to start?
So one thing we also have to bring up is that this is the most difference I think there's ever been across FanDuel and DraftKings for an individual slate, because FanDuel went ahead and just priced Mac Jones and min price. Now the pricing came out before we saw the injury to Brock Purdy. And earlier in the week, we all would have assumed Brock Purdy was going to end up playing, came back from the injury last week, and now apparently had a setback. And now it looks like he's going to be out potentially for a while longer. Once again, Brock Purdy. So FanDuel just left Mac Jones the backup at 1K, which is creating some insane scenarios as far as dupes go. I posted some of the most likely dupes earlier in the day for FanDuel. If one of these lineups wins, it's chaos. You've got almost 10% of the field is expected to play this lineup here. Mac Jones at the MVP spot. Puka
That's
Nacua,
crazy.
Kyren Williams, Devontae Adams. It's just Mac Jones at the MVP spot with all of the next most expensive players, which almost fills the salary exactly. This is going to be the most duped lineup that we've ever seen for a showdown contest.
That is the most dupes I've ever seen by 4,000.
It's a lot.
It's nuts. By the way, zoom in on that a little bit so people can see it on the screen. That's outrageous. And you said the Sims right now are actually coming in underweight on Mac Jones despite that price.
Yeah. So overall, we've got Mac Jones in we've got him projected for about 70% ownership. And if you don't make any adjustments to the Sims, you'll get him in like 40-ish% of lineup, something like that.
What can we go to his ownership real quick and just show everybody watching?
Yeah. So for Mac Jones, here, I'm just going to sort back by Sim ROI instead of sorting by dupes. And yeah, so we've got Mac Jones. Actually, I was only looking at his flex ownership. So he's projected for 70.5% ownership in the flex. And then in the MVP spot, Mac Jones is projected for, oh, he's not even showing up. I'll have to go to our ownership page because he's not showing up in any of the top lineups for us in the MVP spot, which it's solely because of how often those lineups are expected to be duped for today. So the Sims are getting us to a pretty good amount underweight to Mac Jones over on FanDuel, where he is projected for 13% ownership in the MVP. So you're looking at almost 85% ownership overall for Mac Jones. We're getting about half of that from the Sims overall on FanDuel.
Yeah, that's outrageous. Al says C-Mac and B-Rob both go off for 100 plus and a touchdown and 49ers. I mean, shit, if that's your stance, go heavy. I mean, that would be if you had two running backs go for 100 plus and one of them is behind the guy that's getting like 30 looks a game, that would be something. I'm going to go ahead and say I don't think that's going to happen, but if you do, you will be very unique.
Yes, that is not going to be a popular build at all.
If you're getting away from Mac Jones on FanDuel, and we'll get back to DraftKings in a second, but I know there are a lot of people playing FanDuel today for this very reason. I mean, the reason to play on FanDuel might just be to get underweight on Mac Jones, given his price. If you are doing it, what do you think are some of the best ways to pivot off of Mac Jones?
Sure. So if we look here just at the Sims for FanDuel and see, once again, I mean, we're getting to a little bit over 40% of Mac Jones, but he's so absurdly popular that that's about half of what the field is getting to. So there's a couple things that make sense. One of them is clearly you're going to be thinking that the 49ers either don't score any points or it's just anything they do comes through the ground. But here's what really makes a lot of sense to me. I actually talked about this in the Showdown short that I did earlier for FanDuel as well. The Sims love getting to the Rams defense. They are not popular today over on FanDuel. And I don't even think it's because I don't think anybody would sit here and say that with all the injuries to the 49ers, nobody's going to say that the Rams defense is in a bad spot. Nobody thinks that. But because the price point is so unnecessary on FanDuel, they're contrarian over there. And Mac Jones is really popular. This is the most logical way to find leverage and get off of Mac Jones. Just play the Rams defense at 16% ownership on FanDuel. That is going to be a unique lineup because it doesn't have Mac Jones, and there's a clear correlation there. What happens if Mac Jones doesn't play well? The Rams defense plays well.
Yeah, really good point. And given that Mac Jones is so absurdly popular, Rams defense ownership is going to be way lower than it would on a typical slate. Like if Mac Jones ownership was high, if Mac Jones price point was normal, you'd see a lot more ownership going to the Rams, and you're not. Do you want to read this super chat from our friend Morgan?
Yeah, we've got Morgan saying, does Eric Lindquist moonlight as the salary pricing specialist for FanDuel? No, if that was the case, Mac Jones would be $500 on FanDuel today.
All right. Flip back to DraftKings for a second here. I wanted to see if we are getting – I want to see what some of our non-McCaffrey lineups look like, because I think that is one way on DraftKings. Like the way to get unique on FanDuel is just not to play Mac Jones and, as you said, play Rams defense. Or you know what? Like if you wanted to get crazy, sure, play Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson. Maybe there's an angle there. Mac Jones does nothing. Everything's done on the ground. Christian McCaffrey's passing work or receiving work ends up being moot when it comes to somebody like Mac Jones because it's all, points on receptions and not anything else. Although, keep in mind that scoring. I have some lineups already with no Christian McCaffrey in them, and I'm leaving them as is.
Yeah, and you see here that we've got some pretty highly simmed ROI lineups that do not have Christian McCaffrey in them. I created a filter here where I just sorted by top lineups that don't have Christian McCaffrey, and I believe this is our top sim ROI lineup. Doesn't have McCaffrey, leaves a ton of salary on the table, and this is also one of the reasons that McCaffrey is going to be so popular on DraftKings. I mean, the obvious reason is because his workload is insane and all these players are out, so he's just going to be touching the ball as often as possible. But because there's also all these guys out for the 49ers, there's a lot of value. It's easy to get to Christian McCaffrey. So one of the easiest ways to be different over on DraftKings, which you kind of alluded to before, is you don't play McCaffrey, you leave a bunch of salary on the table. And that's why I see here our top overall sim ROI lineup. It doesn't have Christian McCaffrey. It leaves $2,200 in salary on the table. So there are it has the Rams defense also, by the way. I really do like the Rams defense as a point of leverage, a little bit more so on FanDuel and DraftKings, but makes sense to me on both sites. But yeah, this is a McCaffrey-less lineup. All these ones here, because I made the filter, are without Christian McCaffrey. But this one, some of these are absurdly high sim ROIs.
What is Mac Jones' ownership on DraftKings?
Yeah, so let's see what we have here for Mac Jones on DraftKings, where he's priced like a normal quarterback. So you got Mac Jones 35% owned over on DraftKings in the flex. And then he's not showing up in any of our lineups in the captain spot, but he's just pulling a few percentage points of ownership over on DraftKings. We've got him for 4% ownership in the captain spot. So altogether, you're looking at right around 40% ownership going to Mac Jones. And the sims are getting us a little bit underweight to the field to him on DraftKings. We're underweight to him for different reasons on FanDuel versus DraftKings. DraftKings, it's just there are better guys priced comparably around him. For FanDuel, it's just because he's too popular.
Somebody super chatted us this morning, Spags and me, and was like, guys, please tell me I'm an excuse me. Please tell me if I'm an idiot for wanting to play Jimmy Garoppolo. And there was something else included. I can't remember. I was like, well, first of all, probably not a bad idea or not a good idea. And then I essentially was like, all right, I'm willing to say you're an idiot for this. I looked at Jimmy Garoppolo's price point. Dude, he's like $8,400 on DraftKings. He's one of the most expensive players on DraftKings anyway.
Which is what FanDuel should have done. So DraftKings, because, random quarterback injuries happen, this is the safe net that DraftKings has put in. They already preliminarily price up backup quarterbacks. Mac Jones isn't $9,200 because they had inside information that Brock Purdy wasn't going to play. They just do it with all backup quarterbacks on Showdown slates now, just in case something happens, the starter gets ruled out. It doesn't break the pricing of the entire slate like what happened over on FanDuel.
Of course, but typically they're $6,000. All the backups are usually $6,000. For some reason, Garoppolo's $8,000, maybe because Matthew Stafford is prone to miss a game at any point. But yeah, I mean, I remember when that happened with running backs, where they had to start pricing all the backup running backs in the $5,000 range because they were like, and this is back when minimum salary for running back was $3,000. And then what happened is it just ruins a slate. So yeah, I'm glad the backups are priced that way. Mac Jones is reasonably priced. Honestly, I'm not sure he should be any cheaper than Brock Purdy anyway. I don't think it's that big of a downgrade, but looking at this, there's two guys that stand out the most. It's Puka Nacua, Christian McCaffrey, right? The volume is insane. The efficiency's been far better for Puka Nacua, but Christian McCaffrey gets work on the ground and through the air. Those two guys stand out more than anyone, but also there's no doubt about it that Davante Adams, I know he's only a week removed from popping up on the injury report because he didn't practice last week really, and he did play. He was fine. I watched that game. He looked no worse for wear. All of his cuts looked fine. His routes he looked fine. It's only 4 days removed from that game, but at the same time, man, I think Davante Adams is such a good captain pivot at any point because while Puka's the guy, we saw what happened on last Thursday. The JSN, who it's, you and I both liked him. Everybody liked him. He'd been getting monster work, 40% target share in Seattle. He didn't have a target till like midway through the third quarter. He had 2 rushing attempts, didn't have a target. The way you said it when we opened the show, football's odd. Weird things can happen. there aren't enough plays, each and every day to think like, wow, I'm shocked that team won. The same thing can happen in football games, even with top players. Now, is Puka Nacua right now the most likely wide receiver in all of football to soak up like 50% of his quarterback's targets? Of course he is. But that's not saying that Davante Adams at a significantly cheaper price point isn't capable of being the wide receiver one on any given game like tonight.
Yeah, that's actually one of the bets that I posted to Tails, and something that I went over last night when I was doing a Thursday Night Football preview show, which I started doing last week, and it goes up on the OddsShopper channel, the Stokastic channel, and to Twitter as well, is I was looking at some of the red zone targets for the Rams pass catchers. It is so heavily dominated by Davante Adams. So I bet Davante Adams plus 125 to score a touchdown. Post that over to Tails as well, which if you guys haven't gone over to tails.bet, you can follow Loughy and I there for free, and you get all of the bets that we post there, once again, totally for free. But Davante Adams, all of the Rams pass catchers this year have totaled for 20 red zone targets, and Adams has 10 of those 20. Once they get down to that part of the field, and this has been the case everywhere he's gone. It was the same for him when he played with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay for all those years as well. Teams like to throw the ball to Davante Adams in the red zone, in the end zone, and he's generally been really good at converting those over the course of his career. Last week, we also saw Davante Adams score a touchdown pass from Matt Stafford. So I agree with you. If you want to get a little bit different, it's not like he's crazy low owned or anything like that. But if you're looking to get to somebody who isn't Puka Nacua or Christian McCaffrey, I do think Davante Adams is your next best option to go to as a multiplier play.
Definitely. Also, Josh posted something on Tails. I love it. Him and Ben cooked up a little collab. You guys should check this one out. Follow Josh, Ben, Greg, myself. I'm following a bunch of our friends over here as well. Mitch, who's just crushing it. He took the Ben Rossa special, right, with grabbing a play from a random game and pairing it with a future, and bumped the plus 1,200 future to 25 to 1. So I love this stuff. Josh is posting some NBA data or NBA bets, some MLB data as well. Your boy Emac too. Every day in the postseason, all of his DFS stuff that he does, the great DFS stuff Emac does, all of that's over there. All of Greg's bets as well. So be sure to check it out, fellas. It's 100% free. You're absolutely going to love it. And I got a nice little parlay going on here as well. Yeah, there we go. For tonight, a little 30% profit boost for Thursday Night Football. Got some Sunday games up too. If you've ever wondered, like, man, Twitter's cool and all, and we all use it, but sometimes it's muddled with crap, and you just want bets, you just want DFS content, that's all you have here. You will not be presented with anything else except for that. Oh, Ben's got a Kyron plus 400 first touchdown. I love that bet.
By the way, you're not screen sharing Tails if you're meaning to.
Did you just tell me this now?
I didn't. I was looking to go screen share it on my screen, and then I went back to look at ours, and then I realized that you
just tell me now. Damn it. Anyway, Josh is. You should go over there and check it out. Josh has got this everything, and we also added the leaderboard too, so you can see active profit streak, fastest growing channels, most like. But also, we're about to add one that's going to be awesome. It's going to be like biggest long shot wins and biggest open long shots. Your boy Lindy's got some pick six action up there. Let me hit the little flame emoji on this baby.
Don't give him go back to the leaderboard for a second. Go back to the leaderboard and go to the likes. You don't want to give him too much. We can't have him passing me.
All right, hold on.
Yeah.
You said go to you said go to fastest growing and look at number 2.
No. Just most likes. It's the most. There's nothing more dominant on the entire leaderboard than the likes leaderboard.
I'm afraid you're just volume playing this, but we don't have to get into that.
Hey, if I could give people 20 good bets per day and other people can only come with 5 good bets per day, I'm winning. I'm winning.
Fair enough. Anyway, check it out, guys. Links down there in the description. It's really cool. You're gonna love it. I really mean that. I think you're going to love it. We're having a lot of fun with it too. So if you're not on Tails yet, be sure to jump in. Anyway, Guitar Man, NBA, LFG. Yeah, well, we're going to have a lot of bets for that too. Anyway, let's jump back into this. And I want to hit a super chat from our friend Ray. Hey guys, no question here. Just sending positive vibes. Thanks for the great content. As always, good luck to you tonight. Thanks, Ray. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
And Greg,
Ray thinks he's clever, but we're on to him, and we know
I'm
not to
on
read
him.
his full name now.
He got me once. Now he's just Ray. Tom Cole the third. Kendrick Bourne at captain seems like great value, he asked Craig.
Not really to me. So here's the prop. So first, Kendrick Bourne, what are his receiving props at now? Like 34.5 or something like that? I'll pull it up. They're not significant. I get it that based on the snap share of all the 49ers pass catchers so far this year, it seems like he should be the number one guy just because of the remaining garbage they have left. Him and Tungus are the only guys that have actually been playing snaps and getting targets of the guys who are available outside of Christian McCaffrey, just talking about the pass catchers for them. But I don't think that means that all of a sudden Kendrick Bourne just takes on the Ricky Pearsall role or takes on the Juwan Jennings role. I think they're going to really try to slow the game down. I think that Christian McCaffrey is going to get a shit ton of touches for today. And I also think they're going to spread the ball out a little bit. Like, I think Kyle Juszczyk is going to get some looks in the passing game. MVS is going to get some looks in the passing game. I would be pretty surprised if there's one 49ers wide receiver or Tungus at tight end who gets like 10 targets or anything like that. And I just don't think the salary savings are all that necessary for him. He's $6,900 in the multiplier spot. But what are you doing with those salary savings? I just don't think it's massively necessary. He's a fine play in the flex spot. I don't think he's a great captain value, though.
Yeah, neither do I. I will point out, MVS is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because and someone mentioned this in chat today, I totally agree with them. MVS at least has the big play ability. If MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling gets loose, you might have a 50-yard, 60-yard touchdown. Or he finishes with 0 for 0 and 0, which is entirely possible. But there is always a path there for MVS to go out and have a long touchdown. We saw it multiple times last year with very poor quarterbacking in New Orleans when Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed got hurt and everybody was out. There were random games. Yeah, Roderick Jones. There were random games where MVS would have like 3 for 120 and 2 touchdowns. So I get it, Sotex, why you can't click MVS. I'm just trying to leave no stone unturned here. And when you're talking about a team where, yes, you have the starters listed per Adam Schefter, how much does that actually matter? Like how confident are we that, these guys on that graphic that I showed earlier, who are technically the starters today, are just going to soak up the large majority of work? I'm not fully convinced at all. So, yeah, I'm going to get to some MVS.
The key here would be we have to, Eric, if you're watching right now, let us know in the chat whether you're on or off MVS. He has been on the wrong side of MVS something like 100 out of 100 times. So that would be pretty telling. If Eric's playing MVS, maybe we don't want to be on him. If Eric's, we'll just do the inverse of whatever he does. I will say that I did use my King of the End Zone. If you guys know the King of the End Zone thing that they run over on DraftKings, it's for the primetime games, who scores the longest touchdown. I used it on MVS for this game. It doesn't mean that I think he is going to score, but if he scores, it's almost exclusively long touchdowns. He had a 67 and a 71-yard touchdown reception last year. I think that's what it is. If that's not what it is, I'm going off memory. It's close.
Close enough.
MVS has massive long play potential. So as far as guys go who, if you want to be different, save some salary with, he's $2,600. He's projected for 2% ownership. If you play 20 lineups today, here's an easy way to think about it. 20 lineups. One of them is MVS. You're 2x the field on him. I think that's a reasonable way to think about rostering him.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to be virtually unowned, and it's a showdown site. So I'll take a shot or two. You're right, though. You do not need a lot of MVS lineups at all. I mean, you look at Tutu Atwell. He scored last week, but he's, not very involved. There is Jordan Whittington, who hasn't really done anything, Greg. But if you look at, and by the way, Moose just got my 1 month free trial. Appreciate the advice. Awesome, man. Where'd you get a 1 month free trial from?
I assume he means
from the link join.
Either link join
Or Hall
or
of
maybe Hall of Fame, I would
Yeah,
assume.
probably 1 month free trial would be sick. But Whittington's playing a lot of snaps. It's just he's not getting any targets. Okay, so I guess we're fading MVS.
Yeah. All right. Here comes the 0-0-0 stat line. He'll drop a touchdown pass today. I'll guarantee that now.
Yep. Let me pull him out of my lineups. Hey, Eric. Whittington's fine. And then the other factor here that we haven't talked about is the tight end. I know you mentioned Tongas, but we haven't talked about the tight end situation in LA. Now, Matthew Stafford primarily only targets 2 people, but in the event that he decides to target more than Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, you could look to the tight end situation here and you could say, all right, well, we've got no Tyler Higbee tonight. And you've got a guy in Davis Allen who last year had some games where he popped up and then he went back down to nothing. You had Kobe Parkinson last year who had some games as well. So they do exist. It's about all I can say. They do exist.
There was a point in time where Davis Allen was pretty fantasy relevant when Tyler Higbee was out last year. You look at his data overall for the season, it's not going to blow you away or anything like that. But with that said, he scored 2 touchdowns this season. Matthew Stafford is willing to throw him the football in the red zone. He has at least 1 target in every single game, and that's even been with Higbee playing. So I think that Davis Allen is somebody who is a reasonable punt option. And yep, Sims are getting to him a little bit as well, 10% exposure. The one issue with there are so many viable cheap guys. I don't remember a slate that had this many cheap guys you could reliably point to. He's one of them. Sims are getting him into 10% of lineups. I don't think that he's a terrible punt whatsoever. There's other guys I prefer a little bit more, but he'll be in some lineups for me.
What about Tongas on the other side? I think he actually looks okay today. I mean, you have to have some of him.
Yeah, I actually legitimately do like Tongas for this game. Not even a way where I'm saying like, yeah, this guy's playable. Like, you have him in lineups. Cool. If you don't have him in lineups, that's also fine. I like targeting Tongas. So if you look at his targets overall for the year, he actually has been actively involved in the 49ers passing game. And this was before all these guys ended up getting hurt and banged up. Like last week, 5 targets, caught 3 of them for 58 yards and a touchdown. If you told me right now I have to pick one guy to lead the 49ers in targets who isn't Christian McCaffrey, one of the actual pass catchers, I'm taking Tongas to be that guy. I feel more confident in Tonjas' workload than I do in Demarcus Robinson or Kendrick Bourne or any of these other wide receivers. I think he's probably the safest pass catcher from the 49ers. And safe doesn't mean without upside. He has the ability. We saw last week. He was in the Millie making winning lineup last week, which actually in hindsight, the more I've thought about it, was kind of a reasonable play that the field just wasn't on, because week 2, 5 targets also in the 49ers passing game. I feel pretty confident that he's going to be getting somewhere around like 6 to 8 targets tonight.
I thought it was a reasonable play. The rest of the lineup, maybe not, but
yeah,
that was a reasonable play.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. The old naked Mahomes lineup every time. No, I think he looks okay today. As far as the receivers go for San Francisco, and we'll dig in more to Nacua and Adams and stuff, but you guys kind of already know what the play is there. When you're talking about some of these other guys, Demarcus Robinson is fine. You know, he's proven in the past that he can have decent games. Kendrick Bourne, all of those guys. Can you just clear out exposure so I can look at exposures that we have to everybody here?
Yep.
So Kendrick Bourne, we're with the field around 33% flex. I don't imagine we'll have much of these guys, if any, at captain, so I'm not too worried about looking there. Demarcus Robinson, at 2% Bourne. How much? 20% Demarcus Robinson. Do we have any Russell Gage?
I don't think so. 1.3%. So that's 2 out of 150 lineups that have him.
Yeah, I mean, this is what really sucks is that you have all of do we have any Sky Moore?
Let's see. Do we have Sky Moore? He's showing up in 7% of lineups at $800. Sky Moore. There have been showdown slates where it would be really funny if Sky Moore has a ceiling game, because you and I have talked about the best ball verse, a handful of times.
Oh yeah,
Sky Moore was the guy in the
he was
best
the
ball
darling,
verse
yeah.
a couple of years ago, and not only did he never pan out, like it wasn't even remotely close. He was just absolute dog shit. But it would be really funny if now he just is like totally forgotten. He just randomly came out and broke a showdown slate. But yeah, he's one of the pass catchers who is a body that the 49ers have. Not somebody who I really want to be getting to, though.
Scott Bellina, how did all these Chiefs end up on the slate? So there are 3 Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl winners on this slate, as a matter of fact. That's fun.
Yeah, we've got MVS, Sky Moore, and Demarcus Robinson, and all on the same team.
Yep. Yeah. All of whom would otherwise be practice squad players. So not great. But you know what? I think another way to get different, if you think this game could stay close, you run some 2 kicker lineups. No one ever wants to do that. But let's say this game does stay competitive, and let's say it's not because of Mac Jones and this collection of miscreants at wide receiver for the 49ers, and it's actually the 49ers defense sans Nick Bosa. If that's the case, and this game ends up kind of being played in between the 20s, there is a path for both of the kickers to actually get there. And nobody ever wants to play double kicker lineup. So if you do that, you don't really have to get all that different elsewhere.
For me, just because the ownership is so low, I do like Eddie Pinheiro. So we've got him projected for just over 10% ownership. It's not that crazy to think the 49ers could struggle to score touchdowns and they could have drives that kind of stall out at the 20 or 30 yard line. And then all of a sudden they're kicking, a handful of field goals. This is crazy low ownership for a kicker.
Yeah, because all of the value at the other positions, no one wants to plug a kicker in at 40. What is he, 5K? No one wants to do it.
Yeah.
What's Cardi's ownership?
From that standpoint, from a comparison standpoint, makes some sense. But I don't know, like people are playing Kendrick Bourne 3.5 times more than Eddie Pinheiro. People are playing Demarcus Robinson 3x more than Eddie Pinheiro. People are playing, who else? Jordan Whittington has more ownership than Eddie Pinheiro. I know that's a different price range we're talking about now, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in some of these cheaper pass catchers other than Tunjas. Like Tunjas is the one I feel pretty good about, but I don't feel that these other guys warrant this much more ownership than Pinheiro.
Yeah, I don't either. I'll get some Eddie Pinheiro for sure. The fact that we never see kickers that low owned on any given slate. So yeah, I'm on board. Also, I like and Chad says low key Robinson was on the Rams too. Not even low key. Robinson was like the number 2 there for a while because there was always somebody hurt. For a while, Robinson was actually getting decent work in LA. Kyren Williams, another one, Greg. The fact that he's 9K to me is kind of wild. Like, I understand he should be well below Puka Nacua and Christian McCaffrey, but you're still talking about a guy who on the season is averaging 20 opportunities per game. Yes, Blake Corum is getting more involved. I want to talk about him too, because I actually like Blake Corum tonight. But despite him, ceding some work to Corum, still 20 opportunities a game. So rushing attempts plus targets. And for, I'm not going to predict how the game is going to go, but if you were to take the 8.5 point spread, Kyren Williams should be busy today.
Yeah. And another thing too, when it comes to, I know you're talking a little bit more about Kyren Williams, but just to elaborate a little bit more on Blake Corum, if you think this game is going to be a blowout, which I don't think is the most likely scenario, it's certainly a scenario that's on the table for tonight, though. I think Blake Corum is getting the touches at the end of the game for the Rams, and I think Brian Robinson is getting the touches at the end of the game for the 49ers in that kind of game script. So Blake Corum, if you want to build a lineup that plays for that blowout game script, I think it makes a ton of sense to have Blake Corum in that lineup. Also, he's looked really good this year.
He looks solid. I also have zero issue playing him with Kyren Williams. That's the other thing. You can't be afraid to play him with Kyren Williams at all.
Yeah, I don't think that's unreasonable at all. There's a little bit of negative correlation there, but it's a one-game showdown. It's not that crazy to think that Kyrie Williams could score a touchdown or two, and then Blake Corum ends up getting the majority of the work at the end.
Look, there's negative correlation, but there's also a game script that's very viable or plausible where they run the ball a ton and Matthew Stafford doesn't have to throw a lot, and they just go to both of these guys and they get a combined 30 carries or 30 opportunities. That's not crazy. Nate, is fading QB dumb? No. It's not dumb. No, if you're full fading quarterback, it's unnecessary. But if you're playing one lineup that doesn't have either quarterback, no, I don't think that's dumb. I just mentioned it right now. Like, I'm going to have some Kyron. I just plugged one in right now, as a matter of fact, into the red zone or into the bubble screen without Matthew Stafford, but has both of the running backs.
Yeah. Let's look here. Let's look at the lineups. Let's see if there's any here that we could do that have both of them. All right. So contains Kyron and then also contains Corum. Let's see what shows up. And all right. So just 4 of our top 150 lineups, but still there are 4 of them there. And let's see, we've got here Kyron in the multiplier spot with Corum, McCaffrey, Devontae Adams, Mac Jones, MVS. This one is Puka Nacua with Corum, Brian Robinson. That'd be crazy if Bijan Robinson showed up in lineups for this game. Kendrick Bourne, Kyron Williams, Matthew Stafford. So those are the top 2 there. And the one at the top, like I said, actually is Kyron Williams in the multiplier.
Jose Morales, a question for you, Greg. If the Rams get off to a big lead, do you think the Niners will be using the kicker when what they will be needing is touchdowns?
Let's see. So if the Rams get off to a big lead, do you think the Niners will be using the kicker? So, I mean, how big of a lead, right? It's not like if the Rams go up, 21-0, then yeah, maybe not. At that point, the game is kind of there's so many issues in general for the game if it gets that out of hand. Like Christian McCaffrey isn't playing that much at that point if the game gets that out of hand early. Also, if this is a 3-score game in the fourth quarter, I don't think McCaffrey touches the field in the fourth quarter at that point. It would be crazy when you consider that this entire team is hurt but Christian McCaffrey at this point. He's the most injury-prone guy of all of them. It would be insane if they were up a lot. So if they get off to a really big lead, then no, probably not. But I also just don't think that is overwhelmingly likely to happen. That scenario isn't enough for me to say, oh, I have to take Pinheiro out of my player pool.
Yeah, I don't think so either. No, I'm not. I try not to worry about it that much, especially considering, the Tigers won. Nice. Especially, I didn't see the scores from earlier today. I saw some baseball talk, so I pulled it up right now. I have a Phillies over Tigers World Series at, plus 11,000. So I was rooting for that. But no, I'm with you. I don't worry too much about that. You can play it for game script though, Jose. You don't you can build lineups without Pinheiro. Obviously every one of your lineups isn't going to have Eddie Pinheiro. So if you want to play one with a blowout script in mind, go for it. You can absolutely do that. You can grab some Brian Robinson. You can throw Mac Jones in there with something crazy. Throw Kyron with Puka in there, assuming that they do a ton of damage, something like that. There's a lot of ways to work around that. There's also a ton of ways to get the single lineup sim and these sims that Greg has right here entirely free if you have yet to do so. And when I say there are a lot of ways to do it, I mean there are a lot. Not only that, we just added a new way, and I have all the info on the back end as well. I can see how many people have been signing up for Onyx, spending 10 and getting 100 in Onyx cash, which is the equivalent of cash, and then getting the free month of the Sims. If you still haven't done so yet, right, the Sims that Greg and I are displaying up on the screen, all of that stuff, everything, single lineup sim, pre-contest sim, late swap tools, ownership, player projections, top stack, boom bust tools, all of that All you have to do is follow these 4 steps. Not only that, but I mean, we've just had some ridiculous wins. Our friend Morgan Wiper took down the Millie 2 weeks ago. Last week, took down second place behind that singles, that naked Patrick Mahomes. Here's another 350K. This is from last week, right? Yeah, this is just from last week alone. And the coolest thing I saw, Greg, we always talk about like huge wins. I feel like sometimes we don't give enough recognition to people who love DFS as a hobby and play micro stakes. And, the $200, $300, $400, $500 win is significant. And it is to many people. So I got this message from Pedro, and he was kind enough to tweet it as well. Been watching Loughy and crew for a while, play low stakes for fun. Got a month of free Sims Core with the Sleeper sign up. Sleeper's one of the books. Link is in the description. And 2 weeks later, this happened. $300 off of $1 an entry. That's 4 entries in the quarter jukebox. Massive, massive ROI. By the way, 3 Stokastic avatars in the top 5 is pretty sweet. But, dude, what a simple way to get access to it by doing nothing but going in there and signing up with one of those books, making a minimum deposit, getting your match deposit or your Onyx Cash $100 for a $10 spend, and then just emailing us at support@stokastic.com when your first bet or pick 'em lineup, if you're in a non-legal state, settles. That's all there is to it. Can't beat it, Greg. Simply can't beat it.
No, people ask us all the time, what is the best deal? This is it. This is the best deal. Because it's not just the access to the Sims, but a lot of these sites too. It's, like 100%, 50% deposit match bonus. You're making money it's not just the Sims for free. You're making money on top of it on a lot of these sites.
Yeah. So that's the way to do it. Link is down there. Dude, take a second during today's show, bookmark this link or something, come back to it, and then, or during the game, and just place a bet, place a live bet you like. The moment it settles, hit us up, and by tomorrow morning, you'll have the Sims for the entire month. And if you sign up on 3 books, you have 3 months. 4 books, you're free rolling the entirety of the NFL season. So keep that in mind if you're looking for the tools. Easiest, simplest, cheapest way to get them. All right. I want to talk to you about defenses. You mentioned Rams D. What about 49ers defense today?
Yeah, so the 49ers defense, it's pretty frequent that our data gets us overweight to defenses and kickers for these showdown slates. For sure, I have a much higher degree of interest and confidence in rostering the Rams defense as opposed to the 49ers defense, but it's certainly a different build. They're only pulling 10% ownership. If I was hand building 1, 2, 3 lineups, honestly, Loughy, none of them would have the 49ers. But over the course of playing a bunch of lineups, it does seem like this is a reasonable way to get overweight to an individual piece of value and to differentiate a lineup. I don't love them, but they're acceptable.
Can we sort by pool ownership? So ownership on this Sims run to see the lowest? All right. I mean, this is bad down here.
Yeah. Yeah,
of
all the, I do think that of all the low-owned guys, MVS is very clearly the one that has the most upside, just very clearly.
I agree. The problem with him, though, is the price compared to some of these other guys, but I couldn't agree more. Tutu Atwell as well. He's also a guy that could get a deep shot or two. He scored last week. He's at least on the field a decent amount, so that's not bad. What else? Sky Moore, Brian. To me, actually, Brian Robinson is at the very least worth sprinkling in a few lineups at 6% ownership. Think of the ways this could play out, where like Christian McCaffrey either gets pulled early or he gets banged up. This team clearly has a black cloud following them around, Craig. I don't mean to I don't mean to get all like conspiratorial with this. That's not the word I'm looking for, but there's something just going on with the San Francisco 49ers. McCaffrey gets hurt and Robinson ends up being the guy. He's competent enough and he's 6% owned. So I want to get a little bit of him.
I do think there's a little bit of maybe not like outright tanking for this game, but I do think it's a scenario where guys are so banged up for the 49ers right now that they were like, hey, if somebody is on the fence, we're just going to hold them out for this particular game. The reason that this is going to be significant to the point that I'm about to bring up here, I gave a positive ROI boost to Brian Robinson in the Sims before I uploaded my lineups. Because if this is a situation where the Rams are up in the later stages of the game and it's like a kind of out of reach game, there's just no way McCaffrey's going to be on the field at the end. And that's going to be more touches for Brian Robinson. I also posted a bet over to tails. It was Brian Robinson, I think over 15.5 rushing yards. It was either 14.5, 15.5, or 16.5. I forget the exact number, but that's one of the bets that I have for tonight's game for that reason also. And Brian Robinson's a competent backup. So I do like getting to Brian Robinson on the low end also as a guy to be overweight to field. He was only 6% owned.
6%? Would you play him with McCaffrey?
Probably not. Probably not with McCaffrey.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would either.
To me, an upside game from Brian Robinson is really reliant on a blowout and McCaffrey sitting in the later stages of the game. Not for him to get on the field, but to have like an actual upside game that's meaningful for this slate.
Or, and I hate to be this guy, or a McCaffrey injury.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's always live on the table for somebody like McCaffrey. It's been a second since McCaffrey's gotten hurt. But with that said, we would be crazy if we thought, oh yeah, there's no injury risk with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, exactly. So Brian Robinson, I'll take some. I got a little bit. I'm over the field, put it that way. I'm not playing 150 tonight, but I'm over the field for sure. Dan, anyone see Shedeur Sanders go full mime when answering reporters? Yes, I did. It was bizarre.
Yeah, I'm also, I'll speak for myself here because this is clearly a minority opinion that other people don't agree on. I don't find the Shedeur Sanders thing all that interesting. He's a third string quarterback who gets so much media attention. I just don't care. He's not relevant to actual football games. If you get to a point where he's starting, cool, we can go talk about it. I could not give less of a shit of what happens with a third string quarterback leading up to a football game. I agree it's very weird. It's also just not of interest to me in general.
Yeah, it's not relevant, but it is just odd human behavior. That's all. Like a study in strange behavior. I'm with, but to be honest, I was going to say I don't think anyone cares. I think you're right. Some people do care, and there's no reason to. I haven't thought twice about it until I saw that message. Then I thought twice about it after the first time was when I saw it. But yeah. Who cares? Great 88. Rams onslaught with B-Rob. I don't think it's crazy, dude. I'm doing some of that. Yeah, I'm going to do some of that for sure. Especially if you get like a Brian Robinson garbage time touchdown. He's very, very cheap. You know, a lot of times backup running backs on Showdown slates are more expensive than this. And it shouldn't, it's unfortunate that this slate, it doesn't really matter. Like I have some lineups where I'm leaving $3,000 on the table that have Nakua, Adams, and Williams. So like that's just insane. But yes, I do have some of those lineups, and I think it's kind of a cool way to build for today, for sure. I love that we get, Greg, I don't know where you're at. I love that we get these type of questions, like asking about obscure builds that actually could work. I feel like everybody, including myself, from a Showdown standpoint, has come a long way over the years. And you realize, like, if you're going to bother playing them, if you're going to try to win, it doesn't mean you have to do this with every lineup, but you should be taking some shots on weird ways that a game could unfold. Yeah.
And also, I mean, you talked about some of the lineups you're playing that are leaving salary on the table. You guys could see here, I've got this sorted just by top sim ROI lineups now with no sort of filters on. And we touched on this lineup before, the number one sim ROI lineup that leaves $2,200 in salary on the table. The majority of the lineup, not all of them, but the majority of them are leaving $1,000+ salary on the table here. We've got three of our top four sim ROI lineups are leaving at least $2,000 in salary on the table. It's one of the simpler ways to be different on a slate that has a lot of condensed chalk.
Yeah. All right. We got 5 minutes to go. Any questions you guys have up against it, let us know. And somebody asked if we would talk about FanDuel. We did. We actually opened the show with that. it didn't take long. And we talked about some contrarian ways to do it. So if you're on crunch time and you wanted to go back, you can go back. But yeah, we opened the show and talked about the Mac Jones exposure and all of that. Essentially, the Sims are underweight on Mac Jones because he is so insanely popular. And one way that Greg mentioned, a great way to get leverage over the field is to play the Rams defense today, who's getting a shockingly low amount of ownership because of that Mac Jones price point.
Yeah, Rams defense, just to go back to my talking point from the top here, Mac Jones, if you include his MVP and his flex ownership, he's about 85% owned over on FanDuel. In the Rams defense, it's sub 20% owned. If Mac Jones has a poor game, it stands to reason that the Rams defense probably had a pretty good game. I think that's your point of leverage right there. You're getting a low-owned Rams defense. If they play well, it is directly correlated with Mac Jones not playing well. So that's a pivot that I really, really like making to get some leverage over on the FanDuel side of things. But yeah, Mac Jones being 1K, it is creating an insane amount of condensed chalk. If you're playing on FanDuel and if you're playing Mac Jones and using all your salary, you are guaranteed to be duping with a lot of people. Unless you're just playing like completely insane players in other spots, you're fairly likely to be duped with a lot of people.
I love this comment too. Swaggy Pete, I'm playing Rams and Jones in a lineup. Yeah, that is actually a really good way to get, and I'm not saying nobody will do it, but that is a unique way to get to Mac Jones and, exploit that salary while also playing the side that no one wants to because of Mac Jones. Like, could Mac Jones throw a pick six and then the Rams are up a ton, or the Rams recover a fumble for a touchdown, Greg, and now Rams defense is optimal and Mac Jones has to throw 45 times? Absolutely. That's a great thought.
Yeah, and Einstein asked in the Discord chat as well, is there any chance that Brian Robinson Jr. has a larger snap share today? We touched on it a little bit before. He also asked, are him and Christian McCaffrey going to play together? Probably not. At least not in a meaningful way. It could happen on a few plays. I don't think that's going to be a primary portion of what they're going to do today. But the Brian Robinson, for him to have a bigger game, it is probably going to be either because of a blowout or because Christian McCaffrey gets hurt.
That's how I see it as well. Cubs win, huh?
They did. I was watching it here. Also, very disappointing, partly how the game ended, because Xander Bogaerts was, other than the end, Freddie Freeman just flew out. But Xander Bogaerts was up with a 3-2 count at the start of the inning. There's a pitch like a foot outside the strike zone that the umpire called the strike. He should have been on base with a walk.
That's tough. Red Sox Yankees. I'm going to pop Red Sox Yankees over there. I'm going to pop some Thursday night football over there. Adrian Robles, thank you, man. We need some more likes for this great free content. Yeah, before you leave, hit that thumbs up. We appreciate you guys for that. Hanging out as always. That's it, man. Thursday night is over. Greg and I will be back tomorrow, 10 o'clock Eastern, with the Sim Strategy Show. You're going to want to be around for that one, dude. This slate is awesome. I love this main slate. I know you do too. We talked about it yesterday. I'll have the perfect lineup out with Josh tomorrow afternoon as well. There's no baseball tomorrow, but we will have, are you going to do a live before lock for baseball on Saturday?
We'll see what ends up happening with almost certainly not for Saturday, because it's going to compete with college football lock.
Yeah, that's tough. That's not going to work great. Anyway, thanks, guys. Have a great night. Let's see a Stokastic avatar up top. And if you don't have it, stokastic.com/HOF. Do yourself a favor. Download it, use it wherever it is you play. Let's win some money. We'll see you back here in the morning. Hopefully, Greg, to celebrate. Bye-bye.